and welcome to the Mancunian Candidates. This week's show is slightly different than the normal show. In fact, it's completely different because this week we are going to concentrate on something that's hitting the newspaper and people are talking about it and I'm being asked about it. Well, it turns out this guy here, Mike, is quite, I won't say an expert, but he's very knowledgeable. So this week the show is about
Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, the whole thing, which hand in glove. Bitcoin was the beginning of this, and it was Satoshi Nakamoto who wrote a paper on this in 2009, and he decided that there was a need for a currency completely cut off from banks. And the funny thing about this is the fast-moving nature of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, that it all started about 2009 and begun to get traction. Definitely begun to get traction around about 2012, and people started to get involved in it. The whole movement is about cutting banks out. Right.
Now, let's be clear here. I haven't a clue, not a clue about Bitcoin. And my daughter invested in some Bitcoin a couple of years ago. And she works for a bank. And she said, it'll never.
Of course.
I said, well, Mike's real knowledgeable. He said it will. So she did. And now she's quite a happy girl.
Okay.
Well, let's get straightforward. For people like me, what is a Bitcoin?
A Bitcoin is it's a code, it's a serialized number, it's a number that is produced that represents money. And that number, that hexadecimal that takes ages to produce, is produced by a computer that produces a value, a serialized link of symbols that represents money. Now, how it's done is you'll have heard people referring to mining, and what happened was at the very, very beginning, people just got their computers with their quite expensive graphics cards, and they would get them to link up to operations where they were all crunching over loads and loads of different configurations and numbers. It's kind of like you're playing a video game and you're trying to guess a password, and you've all seen these movies where people are trying to break into safes using some complicated technology, and it's guessing all the passwords one by one, and it's kind of like that. And what you would do, at the beginning it was a few people doing it on their own, and then they developed communities where they would all go, right, let's all of us put all our computers' powers on the network together.
Why would you?
Because you believed that you were producing Bitcoin. What you would do was you would put your computer.
Sorry to stop you, Mike.
Okay,
but I'm just trying to take it on my. So people believed that this thing called Bitcoin and this coding.
Yes.
If you mine it, we should talk about.
Yes.
This will have value.
Yes.
Why would it have value? Why would it thought of value?
Because people started to online swap Bitcoin for items and services. And Unfortunately, we're going to get into the dark side of this in a minute, because the Bitcoin first became well known beyond me. I just knew a few friends. I had a Russian friend called Remitas, and me and him were into this, and we were mining and doing some work together. And what happened was some people realized that Bitcoin could not only be used to swap money between each other in exchange for goods and services, it could also be used in a really nefarious way. Enter Silk Road. Silk Road was the beginning of, well, I'd say the negative side of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. People put up a network and people were asking for stuff like marijuana, cocaine, guns, knives, all sorts of stuff. And they would pay in Bitcoin because it was anonymous. If I open up a Bitcoin account now, I don't have to give a name, a date of birth, ID, anything. It's like opening a bank account. Imagine you could walk into Barclays, NatWest, Union in America, and you could open an account to trade with, and you not only did they not ask for your driving license or ID, they didn't even want your name.
Right. So if I'm this drugs dealer on the Silk Road in the dark web, and I'm selling guns,
yes,
and I say, here's a gun, Mike.
Yeah.
Give me some bitcoins.
Yeah.
You give me bitcoins. Now you say I can swap these services, but I want cash.
Yeah, well, you don't need cash. When it got to the point,
how to go to shop, buy some food?
Very quickly got to the point where people were already swapping. Things like this wasn't going on until it got to the point where people online were swapping bitcoins between each other. And this is how it started. They started to swap bitcoins for services. It could have been doing a website. Well, I'll have 100 bitcoins for that, please. I'll have 20 bitcoins for that second-hand graphics card you've got. And people online started to trade.
I understand the geeky side of it, though.
No. Well, everything that's geeky always breaks out into the mainstream.
Yeah.
It always does, every single time. And all that happened here was other people got to realise this, and then suddenly, overnight, people realised Bitcoin had a value. And then say somebody is selling a gram of cocaine for 50 Bitcoins to all his geeky mates. You're suddenly this desperate guy who needs some, and someone went, I found a way you can get cocaine. It's actually delivered in a disguised box to your house. You don't have to leave the house, go to a drug dealer. All you've got to do is convert some of your cash to Bitcoin and then send it to this guy, and he'll just send it to your house. And no one can trace you. You can't be done for it. There's no possibility of it being a policeman.
There's no name on it.
No name, no nothing. And then at that point, you've just bought that. Then you tell your mate, and then he does that. And then suddenly, there's a burgeoning need for this because of the anonymity. And I'm not going to lie to you, although there's a lot of good, and we've covered it on this show before, where a lot of the staff of the AMC cinema got paid in Bitcoin to save the jobs the other week. It didn't start from a good place. Silk Road was terrible. People were paying for prostitutions, the child slaves, drugs.
So there it is, Bitcoin. It's got a shady past.
Shady beginning.
Yeah. I still don't quite get my head around how all these Bitcoins to me coding on a computer means I can
why is gold valuable? Why is gold valuable? Gold at the beginning. Let's go back.
Let's go to a jeweler and say
no. You couldn't go to a jeweler though, could you? So what your argument over? Don't
understand.
No. I'm not saying you're wrong to have this point of view. This is exactly where I was. I didn't know. I didn't recognise this for what it was straight away. I had to look into it, and then I saw the potential. But imagine all those years ago, at some point, someone got some gold and decided it was of value. Gold, you appreciate, was not something that was being shared around by cavemen, in exchange for food. No. So, some point, it went from cavemen to other, later on, people accepting gold for food, And that's what you did with this. You got to a point where people didn't recognise it as currency. Then people started to do dealing with it. And then eventually enough people were doing a black market trade that it spilled over into the mainstream. And then suddenly you would then have me going to you, oh, Mr. Ripley, here's my, I've just bought a new graphics card. I want this one. Oh, you'll buy it for me. Well, I'll tell you what, because we're not paying the banks and the interests and all that, I'll let you have it for 30 Bitcoin. And you go, okay, 30 Bitcoin's fine. Bang. Suddenly there's a value then. And this is how it's emerged. And it slowly became attached to roughly what the US dollar was worth. So at the very beginning, the earliest estimate is that a Bitcoin was worth a fifth of a cent. Yeah. Then slowly over a year or two, it became worth about 10 cents. And then around about 2009, it was worth just over $1. Yeah. and it's gone from there.
Okay.
And all that's happened is the more people have used it to accept payment, the better this has got. PayPal and China fought against taking this currency because they thought, well, we don't want the banks to disappear. They're a useful form of control. And if China, for example, were losing control of the economy, they could literally buy some banks and alter the exchange rates. You can't do that. Bitcoin literally takes control away from government.
So a few questions of people have actually texted me to ask some questions, and before we get to them though, I just want to bring it up to date because everybody heard about it, like you said.
Yeah.
It was on the news, and lots of people said cryptocurrency is a scam. There's some quite famous scams that have gone around the whole Bitcoin thing.
As there have been with money.
Yes.
Not as many as money.
But how many years is it then? 2009. So it's taken.
I'd say 2012. Years. It's taken 10 years. I will say that the first time we mentioned it on the Mancunian Candidates on the radio, we mentioned it about 4.5 years ago. And I said at that point, and I think it was worth $400 a Bitcoin at that point, which again, when we're talking about the beginnings we just talked about, was massive. I said one Bitcoin will be worth $200,000 in about 10 years' time. You did say that. Yeah.
So if I wanted to buy some Bitcoins now, I could just get an app out.
Yes, Coinbase is the most reliable.
Coinbase, and I could just go in and I say I want to buy £20 worth or £100 worth.
Correct.
Of Bitcoin,
anything,
and that'll get me a percentage of it.
Yeah,
and I own that.
Yes.
But here's the confusing thing. Here's a confusing thing. I read somewhere about somebody who lost his hard drive and he got thrown away on a tip, and he had to go to the place, the tip, and he was crawling through the rubbish to find his hard drive.
Well, don't lose it then.
But hard drives break.
Well, don't lose it then. Point? Well, it's not hard drive. You don't put it on a hard drive. You put it on something else. Most people save these on flash drives and they don't break. Most people, they don't always break. Not if you only use them for that. If something as precious as this, if you've got £5,000 worth of Bitcoin, it's worth spending £100 on a flash drive that you use once. Every time you do a transaction, it's not going to break. Now, you do have protections against this. If you put a copy of it on most computers that you've got, you'll be able to retrieve it. Now, you can either save it via the app that just looks at the bit
this is a wallet we're talking about, isn't it? The wallet,
yes, the wallet, yeah. I don't use a wallet. And this is how I would advise people to get it. There is a device called a ledger. It's £70, and it is a little flash drive, and you put your own password in that's unique. That goes into your computer via USB port, and it opens up an app, and it gives you an address to send or receive Bitcoin, and it keeps it, and it's all encrypted. You cannot get online, you cannot steal it, it is literally impossible, and you have a 16-word password of words that is utterly impossible to duplicate, that you write down at the beginning when you start that, and you put that away somewhere safe. So at that point, you would have to lose that drive, and you would have to lose your password to lose your money. And at that point, you're that stupid, you shouldn't really be dealing with money, never mind crypto.
I thought it's quite simple. You just logged into a certain website.
It's an app. Yeah, it's an app, and it's an app like a Dogecoin wallet, a Bitcoin wallet, like an Ether wallet. It's online, and if you remember your password to that, you're fine. If you lose it on your computer, you can access it again.
So, say for instance, I bought this Bitcoin 5 years ago, and I think, it's gone up to £35,000 now or something.
No, it's getting on to 40. It's just cracked $52,000 about an hour ago.
And I'm thinking, I could do with a new car. I own this Bitcoin. Yeah. How do I cash it in?
You send it to Coinbase, you sell it for US dollars or pound, and you then you send that as a cash transfer to your bank account.
Simple as that.
It's done in 2 minutes, yeah. That's simple, yeah. If you have a ledger, and I'm not some salesman for ledger, I've no connection with that whatsoever. If you have that, it is the safest you could possibly get. Your bank account is not as safe as a ledger. A ledger is an amazing little thing. If I'll probably see if I could get a graphic to put up here when this goes live on YouTube, and you'll be able to see what it is. It's an amazing device. It's 70 quid. And you can deal with any amount of Bitcoin you want. You're safe as houses. You've nothing to worry about. You can't be hacked.
Is Bitcoin the only player in town?
No, there are other coins, and there are lots and lots and lots of them. And all the time, people are coming up with cryptocurrency. Some are coming up with them because they've got a unique variation on this chain where they feel it's more difficult to hack or more difficult to steal from, more security, and some people come up with them because they're attached to a certain non-profit making organization that every Bitcoin or equivalent in that currency that you buy, some money automatically gets donated somewhere. There are lots of different reasons, but 90% of these cryptocurrencies are made just to launch the crypto. Everybody buys it. It's a new crypto. Rah, rah, rah. The value goes massively up, and then the value goes massively up, and then the people that launched it sell everything they've got, and they all disappear to an island, and that happens all the time.
A good friend of mine, Hayden, a guy you know very well,
yes.
Asked me to say, is it, when we mentioned that, is it one coin besides Bitcoin he could put some money on now? It's one coin.
Okay.
Get slightly cheaper because the price is going crazy on Bitcoin, where you may make a few quid in the future. Okay,
I'll make a full disclosure. I was involved with a guy who knew the guy who coded the Dogecoin. That's the one with the Shih Tzu dog, Shibe dog, or whatever you call them on the thing, yeah. And we were mining that, and that's the thing that we've not talked much about, the mining. I've never bought a piece of cryptocurrency from day one. I've never bought it. Some people have, and they bought it low, sold it higher, and then rebought it and sold it. It's a dangerous game because when the bottom falls out of it, it's like catching a falling knife sometimes. Now, I was involved in that, and then later on I swapped it all over for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is your safe haven. It's never going anywhere. None of them are. Litecoin is, if Bitcoin is if Bitcoin is gold, Litecoin is silver.
Okay.
And then you have, I would say, bronze is Ether. Ether, which also has subcoins, that's quite worth keeping. There's been so many of them over the years. I always go back to Bitcoin. At the end of the day, if you can, what used to happen is people, for mining purposes, to get this stuff, because I've always said early on, don't buy this stuff.
Yeah, but not everybody's a geek like you, are they?
It's not geeky.
I
I got what was going on, and
which is bad for the world.
I'll do it.
The cost of mining across the world is equivalent on an annual basis as the total cost of electricity used in Argentina.
Yeah.
Is that good for the world?
Well, you have to be sensible. If you get yourself on a night rate with electricity, and especially if you've got commercial premises, if you only put your mining equipment on at night time, in whatever country it's based, so if night time in the UK is based, your night rate is 6 o'clock till 7 the following morning, or 5 o'clock, then you just set yourself one of those plugs that only switches the stuff on between those times. Now, there are two types of mining, though. There are a lot of people would have graphics cards that produced a load of the computations, because the GPU.
What's going to happen, Mike,
It's already happened.
It's
already happened.
Criminals and people like you who'll do this. I think.
It's not people like me. It's this is not
who are into it and geeks.
It's not about being a geek. People are buying Bitcoin now. I'm talking about mining. Mining. Your average person isn't going to set up a Bitcoin farm and mine. I mean, I'll tell you this. I've only had little bits of it going on here and there when we've got a big business going on, and there's certain times of the day where you've got equipment there lying, and you can have everybody's dormant PCs start to generate income during nighttime hours. Why would you not do that as a small to medium company for some extra money? However, what no, because it's not. Because if you're on night rate, it absolutely is worth doing. It makes a lot of money, because even if at the time you're not making money, you've got the capital. You know, if it costs you X amount to get a Bitcoin that was worth $1,000, and then you sat on it, and in 5 years' time it's worth 50 grand, I'd say that the electricity costs sort of fade away. Now, most people, this is my advice, I would treat Bitcoin as gold. It's become the new gold. While all this has gone on with COVID, what has happened is gold used to be some safe haven that whenever you had a major crisis, whenever you had the Wall Street crash, whenever you had the Black Wednesdays, the Black Mondays, whatever, whenever you had 9/11 or any point, the financial crash 2008, whenever people were scared of buying shares and the economy was on its knees, people would go and buy gold. This time with COVID, gold has just hovered and slowly risen and been all right. Everyone went to Bitcoin.
Right,
Bitcoin became gold.
For it to be, I personally think, for it to be completely successful, there's talk here in the Express here, not a paper I read, but London has been advised to embrace Bitcoin post-Brexit as UK looks to find new ways to thrive outside the EU.
Yeah, but it won't be only because of us and Brexit. You've got other countries that are going to do it.
Bitcoin could surge if avalanche companies invest and as a...
Can I say that we're nearly there at the point that I wanted to get to here there was a key moment here that we haven't quite got and we're about to finally get, and that is that it crosses over into fully the mainstream as a form of payment. Now the company today, we had a tech nightmare, didn't we?
Before you go on further.
Go on.
Mainstream, it can't be doing this kind of up and down. I've lost.
It's not going. I'll tell you something. You want to look at a chart of this during COVID. It's been solid as a rock.
It's shot up.
It's not shot up. It's not shot up. It's not shot up and come down, crashing down. I can show you. Well, I will try to. No, it's not at all. This has been. There have been a consistent rise in the value of Bitcoin from the moment people were scared of investing in the markets because of the effect of COVID. It was slowly rising up, and I'll say this: it will only get bigger. And what happened today? We had a tech problem here at our company.
We did,
and where we bought the component we needed a network switcher, and that company for 6 years now has accepted Bitcoin, and at the point we were paying for the component before we went out to go and get it from Preston, it was there were a few options. Money, which you get to pay at the counter, they wouldn't accept because of COVID. So you only had credit card, PayPal, and right underneath was Bitcoin. Wow. And they've been taking Bitcoin for 5 years. You are going to get a situation where people's credit cards will have an option for Bitcoin at some point, and you will be able to, at your checkout, either pay in your currency of your country or in Bitcoin, and it will piggyback it on. Maybe you'll have to load it up.
A few things then. For people like you who are mining away and other people,
Have you heard this mining away bollocks? It's like I've got this Russian server farm of 1,000 PCs going mad.
I'm saying nothing.
He's in the office where it's going on. He wouldn't be able to hear himself.
How many bitcoins are left?
There are no bitcoins left. And what happens is, during every year, there are an additional amount of bitcoins mined that are limited and capped so that it keeps pace with inflation about 8% new. So every year. Yeah, and every year, can I say that there is a difficulty in mining, and here's how it all gets built in so it controls inflation. Every year, at a certain point, or 2 years, there is a section where you've mined enough Bitcoin that they increase what is known as a difficulty. So you have to then mine twice as much to get the same amount as you did prior to that. And that means that it has got a built-in scarcity, so it can't run out of control. Now, people who don't understand what's gone on over the last few years, you've had governments that have done something called QE, quantitative easing. Every single time a country has been like, oh, we need a bit more cash, they've literally printed new money, printed loads of new money, and hope that it didn't raise inflation or devalue the cost. So they do it in a savvy way. And Bitcoin doesn't allow for quantitative easing. Bitcoin will, if you leave it untouched for the next 20 years, it will slowly get harder and harder to mine. But as it gets harder to mine and create, it doubles and trebles in value as it doubles and trebles in difficulty to produce and find.
Right, final words then on it before we sort of move on. It's a shorter show this week. We'll be back next week with the normal show. Clear advice one now. Right, I've got £200. Is it worth me investing in
Bitcoin? Yeah, open a Coinbase account, and every time you've got some spare money, buy bits of Bitcoin and just keep doing it and don't think about the value. When you get to a point in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 15 years, whatever, you want to have a look at this, then have a look at it then. Don't start gambling. Just treat it as an investment, like you're buying gold. It will continue to go up. I predict that now the volatility will calm down. You'll have less going up to 10 grand and crashing to 5. You'll have, maybe it'll go up to 60 now, then crash down to about 56, then back up to 70, then back down to 68. It will calm down as it's going up. But I'll tell you this, Bitcoin is here to stay. Keep buying bits of it. Don't buy loads of it. Buy bits that you can afford with bits of spare cash. If you can mine, then great. Do it if you've got access to a night rate of electricity, and do that. Don't get seduced by other coins. There'll be one along every 2 minutes. There's Tezos, there's all the rest of it, there's Pi. It's all.
Final word Pi. Is that a real coin?
It's a real coin. It's not. Again, it's another new one that people will run in, buy. It'll push the price up, and then people, the minute it gets there, will sell. Bitcoin, people aren't selling. I mean, the two brothers that started Facebook with our friend, Zuckerberg, who, if you've seen the social media movie about that, they took all their money and put it into Bitcoin, and those two little devils are probably the richest people on planet Earth, but no one's reporting that yet. Now, they didn't sell even when it halved and crashed down, and you've got to just not look at this for short-term gain. You've got to look at it over 5 to 10 years. But if you do that, and you are wanting to retire when you're 60 and you're in your late 40s and you think, well, I've got my house here, but I want a really good one, then just keep putting stuff away. Instead of a pension, put it into Bitcoin, because at the end, sell your house, sell your Bitcoin, and you might have the life you wanted. Nice.
On that note, we'll say goodbye. We'll see you next week with a normal show. Thank you for listening. Mike got quite bored with him at times, but we move on. But if you want to find out more information, email the show, and I'm sure Mike will have another chat about it later in the...
I like talking about this.
And I did see you use the hand signal, so see you next week.
Thank you for watching. I'm impressed. You've passed the IQ test and got this far, so let's press that button to do the last thing that helps us. It's got subscribe on it, you can't miss it, and please ring the bell for notifications of future videos.